The massive ships appeared without warning above Earth's moon. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built, dark metal giants that blocked out stars. There were hundreds of them, sitting in perfect formation, like a wall of death in space. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the emergency command center, watching the screens with growing fear. As Earth's Secretary General, she had dealt with many crises, but nothing like this. The alien ships had arrived 3 hours ago. Since then, they had said nothing. They just waited. "Ma'am, we're getting a transmission," said Lieutenant Torres, from his communication station. His voice was shaky. "Put it through," Sarah said. The main screen flickered. A face appeared that was not human. It had 4 eyes, pale blue skin, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, the words came through a translator device. "I am Admiral Kethvar of the Hegemony, speaking for the Galactic Consortium. We know you can understand us. Your species has been observed. You have spread beyond your birth world without permission. This ends now." Sarah stepped forward. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. "This is Secretary General Chen of Earth. We mean no harm to anyone. We simply wish to explore space and find new homes for our people." The alien's 4 eyes narrowed. "Your wishes are not important. You have been judged by the Consortium Council. 12 great civilizations have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We maintain order. We prevent chaos. Your species spreads too fast and fights too much. You are dangerous." "We've never attacked anyone," Sarah protested. "Yet. But you will. We have seen species like yours before. You multiply quickly. You take resources that belong to others. You make weapons instead of art. You would disturb the peace we have built." Behind Sarah, Admiral Marcus Webb entered the room. He was a big man with gray hair and steady hands. He had fought in Earth's last war 20 years ago. Now he commanded all of Earth's space forces. "How many ships do we have ready?" Sarah whispered. To him, 52 combat vessels. Maybe 60 if we count the patrol ships, Marcus whispered back. Sarah looked at the screen where Admiral Kethvar waited. The alien had heard nothing but seemed to know they were talking. "You count your weapons," the alien said. "Good. You understand your situation. We have 500 ships in this system alone. We have weapons that can burn your worlds to ash. We have fought 1,000 wars and conquered 1,000 species. None have ever defeated us." "What do you want?" Sarah asked. "Surrender. Total and immediate. Your governments will dissolve. Your military will be destroyed. Your population will be reduced to sustainable levels. Those who remain will live under our rules on worlds we choose. You will never leave those worlds. You will never build weapons. You will never travel between stars. This is the only way your species survives." Sarah felt cold anger rising in her chest. Around the command center, officers and staff listened with growing rage. These aliens spoke of humans like they were animals to be caged. "And if we refuse?" she asked. "Complete extermination. Every human world destroyed. Every ship turned to scrap. Every man, woman, and child killed. Your species will be removed from existence. It will be as if you never were." The alien leaned forward. "Do not think your primitive weapons can harm us. Do not think distance will save you. We have ended civilizations that had 1,000,000 years to prepare. You have had barely 100 years in space." Sarah looked around the room. She saw the faces of her people, technicians and soldiers, scientists and officers. All of them waited for her decision. Behind them, through the command center windows, she could see the city below. Millions of people going about their lives, not knowing that alien ships waited above them. "How long do we have to decide?" she asked. 72 standard hours. When that time ends, you will surrender or you will die. Choose wisely, humans. This is the only mercy the consortium will show." The transmission ended. The alien face disappeared, leaving only stars and the dark shapes of the alien fleet. The command center was silent for a long moment. Then Admiral Webb spoke. "Can we fight them?" Sarah asked quietly. Marcus looked at the tactical displays. "Not in a straight battle. They have 10 ships for every one of ours. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Our best missiles might not even scratch their armor." "So we surrender?" "I didn't say that." Marcus pulled up more screens showing Earth's defenses. "We have some advantages. We know this system better than they do. We have bases hidden in asteroids. We have ships they might not know about. And, what? We're human. We don't fight like other species. We don't follow the rules of war. We do whatever it takes to win." Sarah nodded slowly. She thought about the alien's words. Population reduction, That meant killing billions of people. Controlled worlds meant slavery. No space travel meant humans would never reach the stars. Send a message to all colonies, she ordered. Tell them what's happening. Tell them to prepare for war. Ma'am? Lieutenant Torres looked surprised. Are we really going to fight? Sarah walked to the communication station. She thought about her daughter sleeping safely in her bed 2 floors below. She thought about all the human children on all the human worlds. She thought about what the aliens wanted to do to them. Open a channel to the alien fleet, she commanded. Channel open, ma'am. Sarah looked directly into the camera. She knew Admiral Kethvar would be watching. She knew the other alien commanders would see this. Good. Let them see what humans were made of. This is Secretary General Chen speaking. For all of humanity. We have heard your ultimatum. We have considered your terms. Here is our answer. She paused, making sure every word would be clear. We reject your ultimatum completely. We will not surrender our freedom. We will not let you cage us like animals. We will not let you murder our people. You say you want to maintain order in your galaxy, but this is not your galaxy. These are not your stars, and we are not your slaves. Around the command center, officers began to smile grimly. Outside, sirens began to wail as the emergency began. You have threatened our children, Sarah continued. You have threatened our future. You think we should be grateful for the chance to live as your prisoners. You are wrong. We would rather die as free humans than live as your pets. She stepped closer to the camera. You say you have conquered 1,000 species. Congratulations. Now you get to try to conquer your first humans. You say you have weapons that can destroy worlds. We believe you. But we have something you have forgotten in your thousands of years of easy victories. We have the will to use those weapons on ourselves rather than surrender. We have the courage to fight when we cannot win. We have the strength to choose death over slavery. Sarah's voice grew harder. So here is our message to your consortium, Admiral Kethvar. If you want our worlds, come and take them. If you want our surrender, come and earn it. If you want to end our species, then step forward and try. But know this, we will not make it easy for you. We will not follow your rules. We will not fight the way you expect. We will make every ship you lose, every soldier you kill, every day you spend in our system cost you more than you ever imagined. She smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. You picked this fight, Admiral. We tried to live in peace. We would have been happy to stay in our small corner of space. But you decided we were too dangerous to exist. Maybe you're right. Maybe you should have left us alone. Sarah cut the transmission. In the silence that followed, she turned to Admiral Webb. How long before they attack? Could be hours. Could be days. They didn't expect us to refuse. Sarah nodded. Then we'd better get ready. Send word to every human world, every ship, every station. Tell them the war has begun. Above Earth, the alien fleet stirred like a sleeping giant beginning to wake. The attack came at dawn. Admiral Kethvar had spent 2 days thinking about the human response. In 1,000 years of conquest, no species had ever refused the consortium's offer. Some had fought, but only after trying to negotiate. These humans had simply said no. It made him angry. It also made him curious. His fleet moved slowly into Earth's solar system, weapons powered and shields raised. The plan was simple. Destroy the human military bases one by one. Show them how hopeless their situation was. Eventually, they would surrender. Contact from the human fleet, reported his communication officer. Put it through. The screen showed a human face, an older male with gray hair and hard eyes. He wore a military uniform. This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Terran Defense Force. You are entering our space without permission. Turn around and leave. Kethvar made a sound that was like laughing. I am Admiral Kethvar. I command 500 ships. You have perhaps 50. Surrender now and avoid pointless death. Counteroffer, the human said. You leave and we won't kill you all. The transmission ended before Kethvar could respond. Sir, should we respond? Asked his tactical officer. No. Begin the attack. Target their largest ships first. Show them their weakness. The consortium fleet opened fire. Beams of energy that could crack planets reached across space toward the human ships. But the human ships were not where they expected. Where did they go? Kethvar demanded. They're using the asteroid belt for cover, his sensor officer reported. They're hiding behind rocks. Kethvar felt disgusted. What kind of military hid behind rocks? Follow them. Destroy the asteroids if you must. But the asteroids were thick, here, and the human ships moved between them like fish in a reef. The consortium ships were too large to follow easily. When they tried, the humans would appear suddenly, fire their primitive missiles, and disappear again. It was annoying, but not dangerous. Human weapons could barely scratch consortium shields. Then the mining ship appeared. It came out of the asteroid field at full speed, heading straight for the consortium flagship. It was not a warship, just a simple vessel for cutting rocks, but it was moving fast and it was not stopping. Destroy it, Kethavar ordered. His ships fired, but the mining ship kept coming. Its hull was thick, built for hard work. The energy beams burned through it slowly. Sir, it's going to hit us, warned his pilot. Evasive action. The flagship turned, its massive bulk moving slowly. The mining ship struck them on the side, tearing through armor plating and into the ship's interior. Then it exploded. The mining ship had been packed with nuclear warheads, turning it into a giant bomb. The explosion tore a hole in the flagship's side and sent it spinning. Damage report, Kethavar shouted as alarms sounded throughout the ship. Hull breach on decks 12 through 18. We've lost main engines. Weapon systems are down. Kethavar stared at the tactical display. A single human ship, not even a warship, had crippled his flagship. It was impossible. Captain Elena Vasquez of the mining vessel Santiago, came a human voice over the communication system. Tell your friends we have plenty more where that came from. But Captain Vasquez was dead. Her ship was debris floating in space. The transmission was coming from somewhere else. Sir, more human ships approaching, reported the sensor officer. They're not heading for us. They're heading for the supply convoy. Kethavar watched in growing anger as 3 small human ships attacked his supply vessels. The supply ships had almost no weapons, just shields and armor. They should have been safe behind the main battle line. But humans, it seemed, did not care about battle lines. The human ships moved like insects, fast and unpredictable. They fired their weapons at the supply ship engines, trying to disable rather than destroy. When consortium fighters moved to stop them, the human ships scattered in different directions. One human ship was caught by the fighters and destroyed. But the other 2 had damaged 3 supply vessels and escaped back into the asteroids. This is not how space battles are fought, complained his tactical officer. Kethavar agreed. In proper warfare, ships formed lines and exchanged fire until one side was defeated. The humans were running around like wild animals, striking wherever they saw weakness. Sir, another problem. The humans on Mars are launching something. Kethavar looked at the long-range sensors. Mars was too far away to be a threat, but the humans there had launched dozens of small objects toward the outer planets. What are those? Unknown. They're too small to be ships, too large to be missiles. And they're not heading for us. They're going toward Jupiter. Kethavar decided to ignore them. Whatever they were not his problem. His problem was the human ships that kept attacking his fleet and disappearing. New strategy, he announced. We hunt them down. Every ship that attacks us, we follow it and destroy it. No escape, but following human ships into the asteroid belt was dangerous. The consortium ships were large and moved slowly. The humans knew every rock, every hiding place. When consortium ships entered the belt, they found themselves surrounded by floating mines and hidden gun platforms. The humans had spent months preparing for this battle. Every asteroid had been mapped. Secret bases had been built in hollow rocks. Supply depots had been hidden throughout the belt. The humans could fight for weeks without returning to their main bases. After 6 hours of fighting, Kethavar had lost 12 ships. The humans had lost 8. But the human ships were smaller and cheaper to build. His ships represented centuries of construction. Admiral, came a message from another consortium ship. Request permission to use heavy weapons on the asteroid belt. We can clear it completely. Kethavar considered this. Heavy weapons would destroy the asteroids and everything hiding in them. It would also destroy valuable resources and make space travel dangerous in this system for centuries, but it would end this annoying resistance. Permission granted. Clear the belt. The consortium ships moved back to safe distance and began firing their planet-killer weapons at the asteroid belt. Huge rocks exploded into dust and gas. Hidden human bases were destroyed instantly. But the humans had expected this too. As the Gyoh asteroids exploded, they released clouds of metal fragments and radioactive dust. The clouds spread quickly. making sensors useless and communication difficult. In the growing darkness, more human ships appeared. These were not the small fighters from before. These were the human capital ships, their biggest warships. They had been hiding on the far side of the belt, waiting. "Sir, 23 human warships approaching. They're using the dust cloud for cover. All ships target the human fleet, full weapons." But fighting in the dust cloud was like fighting blind. Sensors could not lock onto targets. Energy weapons scattered and lost power. The humans, who knew this would happen, had equipped their ships with simple projectile weapons that worked in any condition. The human ships spread out and attacked from all sides. They did not try to win a direct fight. Instead, they focused on damaging as many consortium ships as possible. A human destroyer rammed into a consortium cruiser, both ships exploding in a ball of fire. A human frigate fired all its missiles, at once overwhelming the shields of 2 enemy ships before being destroyed by return fire. The humans fought like they were already dead. They took risks that no sane military would take. They seemed to care more about hurting the enemy than staying alive. "Sir, the human flagship is approaching." On the main screen, Kethavar could see the largest human warship. It was tiny compared to his own ship, but it was moving fast and firing everything it had. "This is Admiral Webb," came the human voice. "I told you we'd kill you all, starting with you." The human flagship opened fire with every weapon it carried. The shots barely dented the consortium flagship's shields, but they kept coming. The human ship was so close now that Kethavar could see its hull, scarred and burning but still fighting. Return, fire, destroy it. The consortium weapons locked onto the human ship and fired. The energy beams tore through its armor and into its heart. The ship broke apart, its pieces spinning away into space. Admiral Webb was dead. But in the moment before his ship died, he had sent a message to every human ship in the system. "This is Webb. Remember what we're fighting for. Make them pay for every inch." The human ships heard their admiral's last words and screamed back their answer. Not with words, but with weapons and ramming attacks and desperate courage. By the end of the day, the asteroid belt was gone. Kethavar had won the battle, but he had lost 40 ships and thousands of soldiers. The humans had lost almost everything: their asteroid bases, their defensive positions, their biggest ships, their admiral, but they had not surrendered. That night, as Kethavar counted his losses, he received a message from the human government on Earth. "This is Secretary General Chen. We saw what happened today. Admiral Webb died well. He would be proud to know that while you were playing with us in the asteroid belt, our ships at Europa destroyed one of your supply bases. Tomorrow we will hit you again, and the day after that, and the day after that. We told you we would make this cost you more than you imagined. This is just the beginning." Kethavar turned off the message and looked out at the stars. He had expected an easy victory. Instead, he had found an enemy that refused to lose. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Kethavar began to wonder if he had made a mistake. 3 months had passed since the first battle. The war had spread throughout the solar system, and Admiral Kethavar was beginning to understand that he had underestimated humanity. The humans did not fight like any species the consortium had ever conquered. Other civilizations had rules for war. They protected civilians. They avoided damaging their own planets. They surrendered when defeat became certain. Humans did none of these things. On Mars, human defenders had turned the entire planet into a fortress. They had built weapons into the ground, hidden soldiers in every building, and armed every civilian. When consortium troops landed, they found that even children carried bombs. The fighting on Mars was house to house, room to room. Consortium soldiers were used to quick victories against enemies who fought honorably. Instead, they found humans who set traps in hospitals, used schools as weapon depots, and fought until they died. "The humans on Mars are using poison gas," reported Commander Theknal from the planet's surface. "It is designed to kill only our species. How do they know our biology so well?" Kethavar knew the answer. The humans had been studying every piece of alien technology they captured. They learned quickly and adapted faster than any species he had ever seen. In 3 months, they had developed weapons specifically designed to kill consortium soldiers. "What about their civilians?" he asked. "They evacuated most of them to underground bunkers before the fighting started. The ones who remained, they fight like soldiers. Yesterday, a human child, maybe 10 years old, destroyed one of our tanks with a magnetic mine." Kethavar felt sick. The consortium had rules about children in war zones. But how could you have rules when the enemy used their own children as weapons? Use whatever force is necessary, he ordered. End this quickly. But nothing about this war was quick. On Europa, humans had converted the entire moon into a military base. They had built their installations under the ice where consortium sensors could not easily find them. Human ships would appear from hidden launch bays, attack consortium vessels, and disappear back under the ice. The consortium had tried bombing the surface, but the ice was too thick. They had tried landing troops, but the humans had turned every tunnel into a killing ground. Sir, reported his intelligence officer, we have captured a human military base on Titan. We found their battle plans. Show me. The plans appeared on his screen, and Kethvar felt his anger grow. The humans were not trying to win the war. They were trying to make it last as long as possible, while inflicting maximum damage. They had divided their forces into small groups that could operate independently. Each group had orders to keep fighting even if Earth was destroyed. They had hidden supply depots throughout the outer planets. They had built secret shipyards in the asteroid fields beyond Jupiter. Most disturbing of all, they had plans for something called total retaliation. What is total retaliation? Kethvar demanded. The intelligence officer looked uncomfortable. We think it means they will use weapons of mass destruction on our homeworlds if we destroy Earth. Impossible. They do not know where our homeworlds are. Sir, we found star charts in the base. They show consortium space. Every major world. Every important installation. The information is completely accurate. Kethvar stared at the charts. How had humans who had only been in space for a century mapped consortium territory so completely? Then he realized. For 3 months, human ships had been attacking throughout the solar system. Each attack seemed random, designed only to cause damage. But they had been capturing consortium soldiers and equipment. Every prisoner taken, every ship destroyed, every computer captured had given the humans more information about their enemy. The humans had been building a complete picture of consortium civilization while pretending to fight a hopeless war. Sir, incoming message from the Consortium High Council. The screen showed the face of Supreme Counselor Veltar, the oldest and most powerful member of the consortium leadership. Admiral Kethvar, your war against the humans has lasted too long. Other sectors are reporting problems. Some of our subject species are becoming restless. Kethvar felt a chill. What kind of problems, Counselor? The Zephyr Collective has refused to send their monthly tribute. The Broken Chain Worlds are reporting equipment failures in their mining operations. 3 species have sent delegations asking about the humans, and whether they might be allowed to join their rebellion. There is no rebellion, Counselor. Only a small war against a primitive species. A small war that has cost you nearly half your fleet. A small war that has lasted 3 months against a species you said would surrender in days. A small war that has the entire galaxy talking about human courage and consortium weakness. Veltar leaned forward. End this now, Admiral. Use any means necessary. The consortium cannot appear weak. The transmission ended, and Kethvar realized his situation had become much worse. He was not just fighting humans anymore. He was fighting for the stability of the entire consortium. New orders, he announced to his staff. We will use heavy weapons on all human worlds. Civilian targets are now legitimate military objectives. We will break their will to fight by making the cost of resistance unbearable. Sir, his weapons, officer said quietly. That means killing billions of civilians. The consortium has killed billions before. These humans chose war over peace. Now they will face the consequences. The bombardment of human colonies began that night. Consortium ships positioned themselves in orbit around every human world and began systematic destruction of cities, industrial centers, and population areas. On New Angeles, a thriving colony, world with 12 million people, the bombardment lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the planet was a burning wasteland. On Horizon Station, humanity's largest space habitat, consortium troops killed everyone they found and destroyed all life support systems. On the research colony of New Geneva, home to Earth's best scientists and their families, nothing was left alive. But instead of breaking human resistance, the attacks made it stronger. Message coming in from Earth, reported his communication officer. Dr. Sarah Chen appeared on the screen. She looked older than she had 3 months ago, her hair now completely gray. But her eyes burned with cold fury. Admiral Kethvar, we have received reports of your attacks on our civilian populations. 12 billion human beings are now dead because of your actions. Kethvar expected her to surrender. Instead, she smiled. Thank you for showing us who you really are. For 3 months, some of our people wondered if we could find a peaceful solution. They hoped we might negotiate some kind of agreement. You have ended those hopes. She held up a small device. This is the activation key for Project Exodus. For 3 months while you have been playing war games with us, we have been preparing for this moment. We knew you would eventually show your true nature. We knew you would murder our children. What is Project Exodus? HFY demanded. Your education, Admiral. You see, humans are very good at learning. In 3 months of fighting, we have learned everything about your technology, your tactics, and your civilization. We know where you come from. We know how you think. And we know your weaknesses. The screen changed, showing star charts of consortium space. But these were not the charts HFY knew. These showed things that should have been secret. Hidden military bases, secret research facilities, the home worlds of the consortium leadership. While you have been busy killing our civilians, Dr. Chen continued, we have been placing assets throughout your empire. Small ships disguised as cargo vessels. Infiltration teams that look like refugees from worlds you have conquered. Weapons platforms hidden in asteroid fields and nebulae. HFY felt his 4 hearts begin to beat faster. Each of these assets carries enough antimatter to destroy a planet. Each one has been programmed with targets throughout consortium space. Industrial worlds, military bases, population centers. All the places that keep your civilization running. You are bluffing, HFY said, but his voice was not steady. Am I? Let me show you something. The screen changed again. It showed a consortium supply depot in the Rigel system, far from the war zone. As they watched, the depot exploded in a flash of antimatter fire. That was a test, Dr. Chen said. To show you that we can reach anywhere in consortium space. That explosion was caused by a device we placed there 6 weeks ago. Now, Admiral, you have a choice. You can continue this war, and we will activate every device we have placed in consortium territory. We will destroy your civilization just as you are trying to destroy ours. Or you can leave our space and never return. You can go back to your masters and tell them that humans are not slaves to be owned, but equals to be respected. HFY stared at her. You would destroy entire worlds to save yourselves? You already have destroyed entire worlds to conquer us. At least our targets will be military and industrial. You chose to murder civilians. The difference is that we are fighting for our freedom, while you are fighting to maintain your empire of slaves. Dr. Chen's expression became deadly serious. You have 24 hours to begin withdrawing from our space. If you are not gone by then, we will show the galaxy what happens to those who try to genocide humanity. The transmission ended. HFY sat in silence for a long moment. Around him his officers waited for orders. Finally, he spoke. The consortium reinforcements arrived 18 hours after Dr. Chen's ultimatum. Admiral HFY watched from his flagship as more ships poured into the solar system. Battleships from the core worlds, carriers from the outer rim, and at the center of it all, the thing he had never wanted to see. The World Killer. It was the largest ship ever built by the consortium, 5 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack planets in half. In 10,000 years of galactic rule, it had only been used 12 times. Each time an entire world had died. Supreme Counselor Veltar appeared on his communication screen. Admiral, the High Council has made its decision. The human species represents a threat to galactic stability. They must be completely eliminated. All of them, Counselor? Every human on every world in every ship. Their example has inspired 3 more species to rebel against consortium rule. The broken chain worlds are now in open revolt. The Zephyr Collective has declared independence. Even some of our own people are questioning whether this war is necessary. Veltar's ancient face showed no emotion. We cannot allow this cancer to spread. The humans chose war over peace. Now they will face the ultimate consequence. HFY looked at his tactical display. His reinforced fleet now included over 2,000 ships. The World Killer alone carried enough firepower to destroy everything in the solar system. What are your orders, Counselor? Simple. Destroy Earth first. Make sure every human in the galaxy sees their homeworld die. Then hunt down every human, ship, every colony, every individual. Leave nothing alive that carries human genes. The transmission ended, and HFY began preparing for the final assault. But first he wanted to try one last time to make the humans see reason. Open a channel to Earth. Dr. Chen appeared on his screen. She looked tired, but her eyes were still defiant. Dr. Chen, this is Admiral HFY. I am sending you images. of our fleet. Look at them carefully. The screen split to show the consortium armada. Thousands of ships in perfect formation, surrounding the solar system like a steel cage. We now have enough firepower to destroy every planet in your system. At the center of our fleet is the World Killer, a ship designed for one purpose. In 6 hours, it will fire on Earth. Your world will be broken apart, turned into asteroids and dust. Dr. Chen studied the images without speaking. I am offering you one final chance, Kethvar continued. Surrender unconditionally. Order all human ships to stand down. In return, I will allow some of your people to survive as prisoners. How many? She asked quietly. 1 million. Chosen by lottery. They will live on prison worlds under constant guard. They will never see Earth again, but they will live. Dr. Chen was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was steady. And the rest? The 24 billion people on Earth? The millions on other worlds? The crews of our ships? Dead. All of them. I am sorry, but the consortium has decided your species is too dangerous to exist. Dr. Chen nodded slowly. I see. So this was never about surrender. This was always about genocide. The choice was yours. You could have accepted our original offer. Instead, you chose to fight. Yes, we did. Dr. Chen smiled. And it was not a pleasant expression. Admiral, do you know what we have been doing for the past 18 hours while we waited for your answer? Preparing to surrender, I hope. No. Preparing to teach the galaxy what happens when someone tries to commit genocide against humanity. The screen changed. It showed a map of consortium space, but now it was marked with thousands of red dots. Each dot pulsed like a heartbeat. Each red dot is one of our assets in your territory. We have been busy for 3 months, Admiral. Very busy. Our cargo ships, disguised as refugees and traders, have reached every major consortium world. Our infiltration teams have placed antimatter devices in your shipyards, your factories, your military bases, your government centers. Kethvar felt ice in his veins. You are bluffing. Am I? Dr. Chen pressed a button. One of the red dots disappeared, and a new image appeared on the screen. It showed a consortium military academy on the world of Sektar, thousands of light years away. The academy exploded in white fire. That was the Sektar Naval Academy, Dr. Chen said calmly. 4,000 young officers died just now. I am sorry for their deaths, but you need to understand what you are facing. She pressed another button. Another dot disappeared. This time, it was a civilian shipyard. The Velkron shipyards. 23 million workers, gone. Kethvar watched in horror as she triggered 2 more explosions. A research station, a mining colony, each one a flash of light that meant thousands of deaths. Stop this, he shouted. You are killing innocents. Yes, we are just like you killed the innocents on New Angeles and Horizon Station in New Geneva. The difference is that we are targeting your military and industrial facilities. You chose to murder our children. Dr. Chen's face was hard as stone. We have placed over 15,000 devices throughout consortium space. Each one can destroy a city, a military base, or an industrial complex. If you fire the World Killer at Earth, we will detonate every single device at the same time. She pressed another button, and the tactical display changed. Now it showed what would happen if all 15,000 devices exploded simultaneously. Every major consortium world would be hit. Every shipyard, every military base, every government center. The damage would cripple their civilization for centuries. You will destroy yourselves along with us, Kethvar said. Yes. Earth will die. All of us will die. But your empire will die with us. Every species you have enslaved will see that the mighty consortium can be defeated. They will rise up. They will tear down everything you have built. Dr. Chen leaned forward. That is what you get for trying to genocide humanity, Admiral. You get a galaxy in flames. You get the end of your 10,000-year empire. You get to watch everything you have ever built burn to ashes. And all because you could not leave us alone. Kethvar stared at her. In all his years of warfare, he had never met an enemy like this. The humans were willing to destroy themselves just to hurt him. They were willing to die just to prove a point. You are insane, he whispered. No. We are human. There is a difference. Dr. Chen stood up from her chair. You have 4 hours before the World Killer fires. I suggest you use that time to think very carefully about what you want to accomplish here. If you destroy Earth, we will turn consortium space into a graveyard. Every world you love, every person you care about, everyone who has ever served your empire will die screaming. Their blood will be on your hands, Admiral, not ours. But if you leave now, if you take your fleet and go home and never bother humanity again, then no one else has to die. The choice is yours. The transmission ended. Kethvar sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display. Around him, his officers waited for orders. From the World Killer, engineers reported that the planet-cracking weapon would be ready to fire in 4 hours. He thought about his homeworld of Kethmel, where his family lived. He thought about the billions of consortium citizens who had no idea this war was happening. He thought about the empire his people had spent 10,000 years building. All of it could end in 4 hours. "Sir?" his tactical officer asked quietly. "What are your orders?" Kethvar looked at the image of Earth on his screen. A small blue world where a species of primitives had somehow found the courage to threaten the greatest empire in galactic history. He thought about Dr. Chen's words. They were willing to die just to hurt him. They were willing to sacrifice everything just to make a point. What kind of species did that? What kind of people chose mutual destruction over surrender? "Sir, the World Killer is requesting targeting information." Kethvar closed his eyes. He thought about Supreme Counselor Veltar and the High Council. They expected him to destroy Earth. They expected him to end the human threat once and for all. But if he did that, the consortium would burn. Everything they had built, everyone they protected, all of it would die in nuclear fire. The humans had given him a choice: destroy Earth and watch his civilization crumble, or leave in peace and let both species survive. It should have been an easy choice. It was the hardest decision of his life. "Sir, your orders?" Kethvar opened his eyes and looked at Earth one last time. Somewhere on that world, Dr. Chen was waiting for his decision. Her finger was probably hovering over the button that would end both their civilizations. He thought about his children on Kethmel. He thought about all the young officers in the fleet who trusted him to make the right choice. He thought about the billions of people throughout consortium space who had no idea their lives depended on what he did in the next few minutes. "Admiral?" his communication officer said. "Dr. Chen is sending another message." "Put it through." Dr. Chen appeared on the screen one last time, but now she was not alone. Behind her stood hundreds of people. Men and women, young and old, all of them looking directly at him. "Admiral Kethvar," she said quietly. "These are the people who will die when you destroy Earth. Scientists and teachers, farmers and engineers, parents and children. They have families. They have dreams. They have lives worth living. But they also have something else. They have the courage to die for what they believe in. Every person behind me has volunteered to stay on Earth when the World Killer fires. They could have evacuated, but they chose to remain." Admiral Kethvar stood on the command deck of his flagship, watching Earth turn slowly in space. The blue world looked so peaceful from this distance. It was hard to believe that such a small planet had brought the mighty consortium to its knees. "Sir, the World Killer is requesting final authorization to fire." Kethvar looked at his tactical officer. The young alien's face showed no emotion, but his hands were shaking slightly. Everyone on the bridge knew what would happen if they destroyed Earth. The humans had made their threat very clear. 15,000 antimatter bombs would explode throughout consortium space. Every major world, every important installation, every center of power would burn. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years would collapse in a single day. "Sir?" the tactical officer asked again. Kethvar thought about Supreme Counselor Veltar and the High Council. They had ordered him to destroy Earth no matter what the cost. They believed the consortium was strong enough to survive anything the humans could do. They were wrong. Kethvar had studied the human intelligence reports. He knew exactly where the human devices were hidden and what they could do. The explosions would not just kill billions of consortium citizens. They would destroy the infrastructure that held their civilization together. Without their shipyards, the consortium could not maintain their fleets. Without their industrial worlds, they could not produce the technology that kept them superior to other species. Without their government centers, they could not coordinate their vast empire. The humans had spent 3 months learning everything about consortium civilization. Then they had placed their weapons at the most critical points, the places where maximum damage could be done with minimum effort. It was brilliant and terrible. "Admiral, the High Council is demanding an immediate response." Supreme Counselor Veltar appeared on the main screen. His ancient face was angry. Admiral Kethvar, why have you not destroyed the human world? The world killer has been ready for 30 minutes. Kethvar took a deep breath. What he was about to do would probably end his career, it might even end his life. But it was the right thing to do. Counselor, I have reviewed the human threat. If we destroy Earth, they will detonate antimatter devices throughout our territory. The damage would be catastrophic. The humans are bluffing. No, Counselor, they are not. I have seen their capabilities. They have proven they can reach our most secure installations. If we proceed, the consortium will suffer losses we cannot recover from. Veltar's eyes narrowed. Are you refusing to follow orders, Admiral? I am, advising against a course of action that would destroy our civilization. The High Council has made its decision. Destroy Earth immediately, or I will have you relieved of command. Kethvar looked around the bridge at his officers. These were good people who had served the consortium faithfully. They trusted him to make the right decision. He would not let them down. Counselor, I hereby resign my commission. The bridge fell silent. Veltar stared in shock. You cannot resign in the middle of a military operation. I can and I do. I will not be responsible for the destruction of our civilization. Kethvar turned to his second-in-command. Commander Teknal, you are now in charge of the fleet. Do what you think is right. Commander Teknal was a young officer who had served under Kethvar for 5 years. He was smart, brave, and loyal to the consortium. But he was also smart enough to understand what the humans had done. Sir, Teknal said quietly, I request permission to contact the humans. Veltar's face turned dark with rage. You will do no such thing. You will fire on Earth immediately. Counselor, Teknal said respectfully, I have reviewed the intelligence reports. The human threat is real. If we destroy Earth, they will destroy us. I cannot give an order that would result in the death of every person I have sworn to protect. Then you are also relieved of command. But before Veltar could name a replacement, something unexpected happened. Every ship captain in the fleet began transmitting the same message. This is Captain Morketh of the battleship Vengeance. I refuse to participate in the destruction of my home world. This is Captain Yeldana of the cruiser Stormwind. I will not fire on Earth. This is Captain Zektar of the destroyer Nightblade. I stand with Admiral Kethvar. One by one, over 2,000 ship captains announced they would not destroy Earth. They had families at home. They had worlds they loved. They would not see them burn just to satisfy the pride of the High Council. Veltar watched in horror as his fleet refused to obey orders. This is mutiny. I will have you all executed. Counselor, Kethvar said calmly, you cannot execute an entire fleet, and even if you could, you would have no one left to fight your wars. On Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the consortium fleet through her sensors. For the past hour, the alien ships had been motionless. The world killer had powered down its planet-destroying weapon. No one was attacking. Ma'am, her communication officer said, we're getting a transmission from the alien fleet. Put it through. Admiral Kethvar appeared on her screen. He looked older than he had a few hours ago, but his voice was steady. Dr. Chen, this is Admiral Kethvar. I am contacting you to discuss terms of withdrawal. Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. Withdrawal? The consortium fleet will leave your solar system immediately. We will not return. In exchange, I ask that you do not activate your devices in our territory. Sarah stared at him. After 3 months of war, after all the death and destruction, the aliens were simply giving up? What about your government? Your High Council? They can find a new admiral. I will not destroy my civilization to satisfy their pride. Sarah thought about the 15,000 devices hidden throughout consortium space. Each one represented months of planning, enormous risk, and the sacrifice of brave men and women who had volunteered for suicide missions. How do I know you won't come back with a bigger fleet? Because, Dr. Chen, you have taught us something important. You have shown us what happens when someone underestimates humanity. We will not make that mistake again. Kethvar paused. Your species has proven that you are not primitive or weak. You are dangerous, intelligent, and absolutely committed to your freedom. The consortium has ruled the galaxy by conquering species that would surrender when faced with superior force. You are not that kind of species. Sarah looked at the device in her hand. One press of a button would destroy the consortium empire, but it would also kill billions of innocent people who had no part in this war. Admiral, if we agree to your withdrawal, what guarantee do we have that other consortium forces will not attack us? You have the guarantee that everyone in the galaxy now knows what happened here. Word is already spreading to every world, every species, every corner of galactic civilization. They know that humanity fought the consortium to a standstill. They know you were willing to die rather than surrender. And they know you had the power to destroy us but chose not to when we agreed to leave peacefully. Sarah understood. The story of this war would spread throughout the galaxy. Other species would learn that the consortium could be defeated, but they would also learn that humans were not conquerors who destroyed their enemies when they had the chance. Very well, Admiral. I agree to your terms, but I have conditions. Name them. First, all consortium forces will leave human space immediately and never return. Second, the consortium will recognize humanity's right to exist as an independent species. Third, any other species that wishes to join us in independence will be allowed to do so without interference. Kethvar nodded. Agreed. And Admiral, one more thing. We will not activate our devices in your space, but we will not remove them either. They will remain as a reminder of what happens when someone tries to genocide humanity. Understood. The transmission ended and Sarah watched as the massive consortium fleet began to move. Slowly, carefully, the alien ships turned away from Earth and headed for the edge of the solar system. It took them 6 hours to leave completely. As the last ship disappeared into hyperspace, Sarah allowed herself to collapse into her chair. The war was over. Earth had survived, but she knew this was not really the end. It was the beginning. Over the following months, as word of humanity's victory spread throughout the galaxy, other species began to rebel against consortium rule. The Broken Chain Worlds declared their independence. The Zephyr Collective formed their own government. A dozen other species announced they would no longer serve as consortium subjects. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years began to crumble, not because it had been conquered, but because its subjects had learned they did not have to accept oppression. The humans helped where they could. They shared their technology with newly independent worlds. They provided medical aid to species that had been exploited by the consortium. They offered military assistance to those who asked for it. But they never tried to rule. They had fought for their own freedom, not to become new masters of the galaxy. Years later, historians from many worlds would study the war between humanity and the consortium. They called it the Liberation War and marked it as the beginning of a new age in galactic history. The most famous document from that time was Earth's final transmission, recorded by Dr. Sarah Chen just before the consortium withdrawal.